take off my real noisy jacket.
That's a perfect time to do that.
I mean, who else would want to wear a puffer jacket while they're doing a podcast?
This is the perfect time to do that after you've been here 45 minutes and we've been talking. And
yes.
Now we push record, and
yes.
That's a perfect time to do it. This is the first time we've ever recorded this late.
I know. I kind of like it.
It's 11:10.
Is it?
Yeah.
That means everybody will be asleep when I get home.
Correct.
I don't have to do.
And that means at my house, nobody will get to sleep until we finish.
Oh, that's right. Because we'll be laughing so loud. Amaryllis, can I ask you a question?
Of course you can. But I always seem to get in trouble when you ask me a question.
Can you please share with me your favorite childhood Christmas gift? The one that you remember the most, that you just loved.
One of my favorite things I ever got was, as a kid, a light bright. And I used that light bright like crazy. I loved that thing.
I had a light bright too, but I would leave my pegs on the floor. My mother would vacuum them up, and so I didn't get any
she's
pegs.
So mean.
Yeah, she would. She was like, if those are in the floor, I'm gonna vacuum them up. So I only had pegs for about 2 weeks.
Okay, that makes it hard to draw a butterfly.
It made it really hard. Yeah, I just could do an antenna after about 2 weeks.
I loved it. I don't know how I ended up where I am with non-diagnosed ADHD. From then, that I could sit for hours and just punch those little pegs in.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I have diagnosed ADHD.
Yes.
And I got my pegs vacuumed up within a week.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't think of any. I mean, I had a wonderful childhood, but I mean, there's just nothing necessarily that I was like, it's not like the Red Ryder BB gun that you got. Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite gifts was I got the classic Teddy Ruxpin.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember Teddy
Yep.
Ruxpin?
Oh, yeah.
So I got the Teddy Ruxpin.
Oh, I remember one. Go ahead.
But I think they only got me that to make me go to sleep, because they only got me the like sleepy nighttime cassette to go in.
The cassette.
Yeah. And you put it in his back and it'd be like, who's gonna go to sleep first? And I was like,
creepy Teddy Ruxpin.
Yeah, but I loved him. And then I got a Betsy Wetsy doll.
Okay.
But my Betsy Wetsy had some issues with her bladder, and she couldn't pee. And so
she was not a Betsy Wetsy.
She was not. Like, she could not. I don't know if she had like stage fright or something, but she could not TT. And so my daddy was like, well, we'll get you a different one. And I was like, Santa brought that. Like, he made that.
How can you possibly get another one?
You can't get another one of these. And so at whatever a.m. in the morning that we would wake up, because, children wake up at the crack of dawn on Christmas Day, he performed a surgery through her arm. And fixed her pipes. And she was able to wet.
Through her arm?
Well, to get to her pipe, and he said, turn your head.
You can't look at this. She does not
Don't
have anesthesia.
Look. And he popped her arm off. She didn't make a noise. She didn't even cry. Popped her arm off.
Brave girl.
Fixed her pipe in so she could TT at her butthole, because that's where the TT came out.
That's where doll pee-pee goes.
They were not anatomically correct. And then after that, you would feed her with a bottle of water, and then you would press her hand and she would TT. That's how Betsy Wetsy worked. But I got tired of watching just clear pee, and so I wanted to do some different kinds of peas. So I would feed her apple juice sometimes, and I would feed her chocolate milk sometimes. And she started to not smell good.
She smelled good.
And so then we had to have a funeral for her because she got sepsis.
Oh, my word. That is so traumatic.
She smelled so bad.
You think?
I can't believe my parents let me keep her as long as they did.
You think?
They were kind, and they let me keep her a long time. And my daddy would be like, you need to clean her up with some water. Like, let's feed her some water for a while.
Oh, my gosh.
But I'm sure there was all types of mold inside of her.
Gross.
Yeah, it was gross.
I do remember, I grew up in the 80s, and I was part of the whole Cabbage Patch doll
Yes,
thing,
I had a Cabbage Patch.
Couldn't find them anywhere, and, there were fights and stuff over them. And my uncle in California worked at a toy distributor, and we got a box from California one day, and it was holiday time. We knew it was something from them, and we knew it would be like toys, because they would just always take care of us because we were little. And I remember that Christmas, we were not expecting those dolls, and we opened that box, and there were like 4.
What?
Yes, Cabbage Patch dolls. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I remember screaming and screaming.
My mother, I know she had to have swung on somebody to get those Cabbage Patches because they were the ugliest Cabbage Patches you could ever see. Like, she had to have gotten, like, the last one and probably black somebody's eye to get it, okay? Like, so, because, you know, you want your Cabbage Patch doll to look like you, right? Because it's your baby.
Uh-huh.
So we get Cabbage Patch dolls that year, and I opened mine up, and this baby doll has red hair and freckles. And I was blonde, and I was like, well, whose kid is this? Because I know this one didn't grow up.
There's been a mix-up at the hospital.
This one didn't grow out of the patch for me.
Correct.
And so, but I thought, it's my baby. I love it. And so I'm gonna love it anyway. And it was Cabbage Patch doll. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Well, then you open its birth certificate, right? And I'm thinking, what in the world is my baby's name? Because they come with a name, right?
Please, what was her name?
Elsie.
Elsie.
I'm
like
sorry.
A cow.
I'm sorry if anybody's name is Elsie, but nobody wants a baby doll named Elsie.
Yeah. Elsie the cow is what I always think of.
That's right. And so I had to send out a request for a name change.
Well, you had to go through legal means to do that back in the day for Cabbage Patch dolls.
Well, can you guess what highly, distinguished name I chose for her?
What year is this?
This is 1987? 86, whatever year it was.
Definitely, it was definitely Amanda or Brittany.
It was Sally.
Sally. That's very posh.
I thought, well, there's no better name than Sally, and so that's what I named her.
Well, okay. Did you give her a middle name?
I think I gave her my middle, like her middle name was my first name, so it was like Sally Misty.
Oh my gosh.
So, because I wanted her to have a heritage.
Of course.
Right?
Of course. So she didn't look like you.
Yeah, but then tragically, I lost Sally about a month later. She had gone missing, and I couldn't find her anywhere. And then I went into my sister's room, who was constantly angry at me, and she had performed some open heart surgery on Sally.
Did the Bureau of Dolls of America, have they contacted you about never having another doll?
They have not contacted me yet.
Oh,
but
my goodness.
yeah, so I tragically lost her in a home surgical accident.
Did you ever do any surgery on Avery's dolls?
I did not. No.
Okay.
I did not. But I went
She
through.
probably didn't feed them chocolate milk.
Yeah, but there was a difference in between the oopsie daisy surgery that my dad did to save a life and bring back function to her bladder, and that one that she did just to desecrate my doll.
Right, right.
And hide it under her bed.
Your dad was a physician in good standing, and she was Dexter.
And she just wanted to hurt me.
She was
That's
Dexter.
fine.
Yeah. Are you ready for Christmas? P.S. I meant to ask you, do you have any Christmas spirit? How was Santa on the rooftop?
Oh, let me tell you what I did for
If you
Santa.
would like to plead the fifth, you can do that.
Well, let me tell you, and I'm going to talk about this more during the episode because if you guys don't know, this is On the Dock, and this is our Christmas special.
I'm Amaryllis.
And I'm Misty.
We did a Christmas special last year, but I have to tell you that I took it down because it was so
so stupid.
It was so stupid. That's the one that my sister was like, I tried to listen, and no, I couldn't.
just could not do it.
She also told me this weekend at our family Christmas that she's just not interested in listening. She would really like to, but she's just not interested.
She said, I really want to, but I don't want to.
I just don't want to.
Yeah.
So she told me that, and I went back and I listened to about 10 minutes of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's right. So I took it down.
And then did you go read one of our sweet friend mails to make you feel better?
To make me feel better,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Because those people wrote those emails probably because they had not listened to that episode.
Praise God.
Let me tell you what we did, people. We watched. Misty, I thought this was the greatest idea at the time.
We thought we were going to create a mockumentary
We
podcast.
thought this was hilarious.
Yeah.
We watched Elf and we pretended it was real.
We did think it was real funny at the time.
Yes,
though.
we did.
Yeah.
We did. It turns out it's not that
And
funny.
we were stone cold sober.
We were not having chocolate milk.
At all. At all. I think we had white milk that day.
Yes, we must have had.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I took it down. So this is our Christmas special. So welcome.
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 And Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
So you were saying, you want to talk about him during our...
Yeah, I'll talk
Okay,
about
we'll
him
wait,
during
we'll
our
wait,
thing.
we'll wait.
But can I say something before we get started with this
Sure,
episode?
of course.
Just for legal reasons.
Oh, gosh.
I just want to say that this is not a real podcast. This is a podcast that is created in the spirit of a real podcast, and anything that we say cannot be used against us
Right.
in a court of law.
Right.
And
it's not even real opinions.
Also, any opinions that we have are the opinions of other people. They're not even ours. In Jesus Christ's name we pray, amen.
Do not contact us, Jeremy.
I wish you would try to sue me. I don't have anything.
It would give us more listeners.
I'd be like, you can only sue me for the money I make off this podcast.
Which is
negative $25 that we've spent on these microphones. And one time we did a $10 ad bump.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So hey, by the way, everybody, I sound like I sound, and I can't help it, and I'm sorry. Hopefully I'll get back to normal next week or so.
Well, I mean, it jumped from 70 degrees to 30 in one day in Alabama. So
it did. I don't know what's happening.
It'll mess you up.
I don't know. It could be like we talked about last week. It could be Omicron, but
could be.
I don't feel bad. Like it's just.
Yeah.
I'm not having those symptoms, but anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge that I sound like I've been smoking since I was 4 years old.
Yeah,
and it's not the case.
It's not Marlboros.
It's not Marlboros.
I wish your cat would drink this drink. Speaking of cats, I poisoned another one.
Oh my gosh. And it was the one we gave you.
And it was the one you gave me. So
she's fine. She's fine, everybody.
Guys, it's fine.
She's fine. She's fine.
She got
just
a
know
little,
that if you need to call poison control,
it's $65.
It's $65.
And also, ibuprofen PM is not good for cats.
Do not give it to them.
Do not let one roll under your refrigerator because they will pat it out and bite it. So
right.
That's fine, though. I love her so much more now because she made it.
Because you had to spend so much money on her.
I had to spend $65. Yeah.
Are you ready for Christmas?
I'm ready.
Do you love Christmas?
I do love Christmas. Let me tell you what I love about Christmas is I love planning for Christmas and never doing the things that I plan.
100%.
Yeah. But I am proud of myself. All of my presents are wrapped about, and they're all up underneath our tree. And that's a huge deal because usually I will be up Christmas Eve wrapping like a maniac.
Yep.
And
I will be doing that.
Avery walked in the other night and she was like, our tree is so full of presents. And I was like, are you proud of me?
I like to have the tree. Like, by now, I usually have gifts under the tree. I don't know why I've gotten myself so behind. Because I like to see, like, it looks pretty.
It looks pretty.
It looks nice.
And that's all I care about is the
But I
visual.
just haven't taken the time to wrap a single thing.
Yeah. And I do like wrapping presents. Like, I try to make it a whole thing. Like, I put on the music and put my little blanket on the floor and wrap all my little gifts. And, yeah.
So I'm not like that at all. I am not a Christmas person. Yeah. I mean, of course I enjoy the festivities and P.S. I put my Christmas tree up in September and I had to restring lights because half of them blew out because I've had them on for so long.
I feel like you do like Christmas because you started real early.
It wasn't because I liked Christmas. It was because of a time situation because I'm the only one that decorates, and if I don't do it, it doesn't get done, and I'm so busy at Christmas time, which is why I think I don't love Christmas. I was just saying this on Facebook to a fellow studio owner. I used to own a pottery studio. You just give a lot of yourself to make sure somebody else has a beautiful Christmas, has a beautiful gift.
Right.
And I love that. Like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm not grateful for it and that I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it gets very stressful, and it just takes away some of the joy of the season for me.
Sure.
So when I think Christmas, I don't think this will be a great time of hanging out with my family and baking cookies and going to see Christmas lights. I think I have until about mid-December to have these gifts for these people because inevitably I will have spelled something wrong, or somebody's going out of town and they're having their family Christmas early and now I've ruined Christmas for them.
Right.
And so I'm not a Christmas person. So when I started this documentary and this guy is like Mr. Christmas and he has got the Christmas spirit all year, I thought, he is not my people. I knew immediately I did not like this guy.
No.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're talking about Twas, The Fight Before Christmas.
Right.
It's brand new, and it's streaming on Apple Plus. Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, Apple TV Plus. And see, I'm a Christmas person for about 30 days. Yeah, and then I get to the point to where, like, I love to decorate. I let Philip take care of the outside, which looks atrocious. he does all inflatables, and it looks ridiculous. Like, I'm surprised the HOA ain't got us yet. But I do the inside beautifully, and I decorate it all up, and I love how it looks, and I love how I feel when it's up. And then as soon as December 26th hits, I'm like, I'm tired of this. Like, I want my house back.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do the all year starting in September kind of thing like this dude does.
I'm either taking this thing down on Christmas Day after we get back from my husband's family, or it's not getting taken down till next year. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, and I love the people who are like, it's bad luck to take your Christmas tree down before New Year's. I'm like, it's bad luck for you to tell me not to.
Yes, it's it's not just bad luck, it's dangerous.
It's
for you
real
to say
dangerous
that.
for you to decide when I'm going to take that tree down. You are not the boss of me.
All right, so this Twas the Fight Before Christmas is this man in, I don't even know where he is, Idaho, I think.
Idaho. Mm-hmm.
Idaho. And one year, he and his wife decided they would do a light show outside their home because he is Mr. Christmas. Like, he loves Christmas lights.
Yeah, now let's give them a little picture of what Mr. Jeremy looks like, okay?
Okay.
So, he uses words like yikes and aghast.
It's very wholesome.
Very wholesome. Like,
very 50s
a lot
wholesome.
of sweater vests.
A lot of
and
sweater
a
vests.
lot of cardigans.
Yes.
Yeah. And
never a hair out of place.
no. And he looks like he might bathe before and after lovemaking with his wife.
Oh, God.
I'm not sure.
Why do you always say things like that and they catch me so off guard? You are a lunatic.
He just looks so tidy. Very
Straight-laced.
straight,
Yes.
like nothing is out of place.
Nothing's out of place.
Like-
Also, I don't know if you know, but he's a lawyer.
Yes.
You might have heard.
I did hear,
He's a lawyer.
which was why I gave my spiel
That's
at the
true.
beginning.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, this guy is very straight-laced. He definitely wears, in the off-Christmas season, he probably wears lots of Argyle.
sure enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely lots of Argyle
Oh,
at
yeah.
Christmas, which lasts for him from about August through January, I'm sure.
Right.
And he's Mr. Christmas. He has this huge storage unit full of lights and I'm sure inflatables and just all kinds of stuff. So he
And
his
stuff
fam-
like from his childhood, even.
Oh, yeah.
He was like,
well, he was in charge of his childhood home.
yeah, and he was
was in
like,
charge of
these are nutcrackers from my childhood, and I was like, oh, all right.
So he
now.
decided to put up this light show. Oh, he'd gotten a cotton candy machine from his grandfather.
Can I tell you, he had me at cotton candy machine.
Well, who doesn't have a?
My
Robot
favorite
candy.
food is cotton candy.
I love cotton candy.
Hands down. Can I tell you, one of my favorite things about the Christmas season is they come out with lots of stocking stuffer cotton candies. Now, nothing beats a zoo cotton candy because I know it's fresh made. But I will take a bin cotton candy sometimes if it looks genuinely appetizing. I prefer a pink or a blue or a purple.
Do you have a cotton candy machine?
I
Like,
don't.
they've got those little toy ones that make real cotton candy.
I wish I did, because I genuinely love it, but I fear that I would get the diabetes because I literally will eat cotton candy all day until my teeth rot out. Like,
Yeah.
I love it that much. And so when he said that, I was like, well, God, why weren't my parents buying me this Mr. Robot cotton candy machine?
It was
and
not
where
a
can
little.
I find one?
It was not a little cotton candy machine. It was.
It was like from a fair.
It was a big cotton
It
candy
was
machine.
a big, and it still worked.
It still worked. So he said, "Well, dang, I've got a cotton candy machine. Of course, I'm going to have a public show."
For sure.
And so he says, "Well, you know what?" His wife said, "Yeah, that sounds great. We'll have people bring cans of food and we'll make it a charity drive." And
Yeah, we can have a drop box
Yeah,
for
totally.
different charities.
It started off small, and then the next couple of years it just grew and grew. And
and
one
were
of the first years they put it on Facebook, and he went back and checked it a few days later, and there were like 1,000 people that were ready to come.
Oh, yeah.
that had responded.
And his wife was like,
we got to cancel.
yeah, I don't know that we can do this.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing, so his name is Jeremy, and his wife's name is Christy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite things that Christy said, and I thought, well, Christy, you're a woman after my own heart. She said, we must buy a bigger house.
That's the only solution to this
That's
problem.
really the only solution. And I thought to myself, what can I do so that I can go to Philip and say, we must buy a bigger house? It's really our ministry.
It's our ministry. This became his ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you get the same feeling at the beginning? Like, I genuinely kind of like this guy.
No, I did not get that feeling.
When at first you didn't? Okay.
I immediately realized he was a Looney Tune.
See, now, at the first I thought, I did think he was a Looney Tune. But at the first I thought, I mean, he's just so whimsical, and he just, something has happened that he wants to recapture his childhood, and he just wants to do something good and fun for the community. Because, look, I have one of these in our neighborhood. Yeah. Okay? And we have something called Santa on the Roof. Let me say this to you guys. It is a wonderful thing.
This is her legal disclaimer.
This is a legal disclaimer. It is a wonderful thing for my small community and for our larger community, because basically one of our neighbors dresses up like Santa, and he literally climbs on top of his roof. Now, he's been doing this since my husband was a child, so he has to be well up in age, and he is still climbing on top of this roof, where he has put a life-size sleigh that he sits in. And then people come and gather. There are cars lined up in our neighborhood. The police come out to direct traffic. And then you come up.
It's a community tradition.
It's a community tradition. People wait on it, and he decorates his yard. And you come up and you tell Santa your child's name and what they want for Christmas, and he calls their name out over a loudspeaker. And he has a PVC pipe that he shoots candy down at them. And so many people adore this. Yes. And they love this. And they wait for this. I do not.
Most of those people are probably not his neighbor, though.
Most of them are not his neighbor. And nothing fails me that every single year that it is Santa on the Roof, that I have a hankering for Jim and Nick's barbecue. Every time. Every single time. And I won't even realize that it's Jim and Nick, that it's Santa on the Roof time. Yeah. Like, I see the countdown, but I don't really keep up with it because our children were not interested. Yeah. And, you know, we were like, Santa's not real by the time they were 5. So, because...
Spoiler alert. I hope nobody's listening with their kids.
Spoiler alert. We like to get the credit for those gifts.
Yes.
So, it was never a big thing at our house. But I could not get out of my neighborhood. And it would infuriate me. I love seeing the children. I love that he does it. I think it's amazing. And our community does another thing where we light up
Christmas tree.
Bags of sand and a candle. Luminaries.
Okay.
We line the streets on Christmas Eve with bags, lunch bags, like the brown paper bags of sand and a candle. And you have to light your bags. And, of course, my neighbors are always out of town, so I have to light theirs. And then we just have lights.
Don't they catch fire?
We just have fire hazards everywhere, all over.
That seems unreasonable.
Just Christmas spirit flaming.
Okay.
Unattended all night, okay? And then we're made to go outside and blow them out. And then somebody's jerk A kid comes and stomps on them and makes a mess
everywhere.
And then you have to clean them up. And so another wonderful neighborhood tradition that I love and hate, okay? Yep. It's beautiful, but like, hey, I didn't ask y'all.
Not really necessary.
I didn't ask y'all to put bags of sand in front of my house and light them on fire. But I get it. So I try to be a part of it. I will not help do it, but I will light my candles. So I kind of get that whole... a neighborhood making you be a part of something that you don't really want to be, and all you want to do is eat barbecue and not clean up sand and candles.
That seems reasonable to me.
So, therefore, I could kind of understand what was happening in this.
He says he did this show that initially for 8 days. The first thing I see, the whole time I'm thinking, these neighbors just must hate him. They had a choir. They had... Santa Claus was there.
A live camel.
They had a live camel.
Sally,
the camel, just like your dog.
The name of my doll.
No wonder you had an affinity for this guy.
Hello.
And he says, I tell you what got me. What gets me is this conflation of God and church and this silliness.
Okay, did you ever figure out what his religion is? Because when you said he did it for 8 days, I was like,
no, he's Christian.
Are you Jewish?
What do you mean did I figure it out? The whole thing is about religious discrimination. Oh, my word, Misty. Did you watch this program?
I did, but I was thinking, and maybe it's because I'm from the South, is Christians don't get a whole lot of discrimination here. Correct. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was like, because I have, well, and I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe is he Mormon? Because I have some Mormon friends, and sometimes people don't consider them quote unquote Christian, or have differing views and opinions on some of their traditions. So I thought, well, maybe is he Mormon and they don't agree with that, or is he some other type of like freewheeling Baptist church or something?
Well, it's Idaho, so it's unlikely that it's a Baptist church.
Okay.
It is a good point that he might be Mormon, and Mormons consider themselves Christians.
Right.
And so that is true, but if even so, he would be surrounded by people that are like him.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be a situation where they're like, oh, there's that crazy Mormon family.
Yeah.
Although now that you say it, they are very Mormon looking.
They are.
And, I don't know what that sounds like to whoever might be
Well,
listening.
very
it's not meant as an insult.
They're conservative.
They're very conservative. They're very clean cut.
Yes.
They seem very friendly, apart from this whole situation.
And very like male and female roles.
Very,
in
exactly,
the
very
households.
traditional.
Yeah.
So now that you mention it, I hadn't even considered it. I just assumed it was some sort of mainstream Christian church, and Mormonism is mainstream too. But
And like before we get into the conflict of this, like I was saying, his wife Christy had said, let's buy a bigger house. Okay. So they had done this program, and it had been successful in his other neighborhood. Like, it seemed like it was huge, and maybe people were not happy about it.
they weren't happy about it, and the city wasn't happy
And
about it.
the city wasn't happy about
The city
it.
said, you got to have a permit. And he said, I don't need a permit for a miracle.
Yeah.
It's like he fed the fish and the loaves.
Thank you. He said, did Jesus need a permit? Then I
No,
don't.
Then I don't.
You are not the boss
That
of
is,
me.
and see, that's the problem that I had, because he didn't say that, obviously. I mean, he did say the thing, you don't need a permit for a miracle.
Right.
But he was comparing his situation to biblical proportions.
Right.
And massive, you would think this guy was a Christian in a Muslim land.
And I'm sorry, Frosty the Snowman does not a conversion make.
No.
Like, he had a lot of secular things
Many
going
secular
on.
things.
I mean, it's not like he was doing a live nativity and that was it, and it was all about Jesus. And,
Right. And he was preaching the gospel.
And
from
preaching the gospel and saving souls. Like,
No.
I'm sorry, you're giving out hot chocolate and cotton candy.
From a robot.
Yeah, from a robot's belly.
Yeah.
Which I've never heard about a robot in the Bible.
Not once.
Please correct us if we're wrong. We've had some people do that.
We apparently should know that.
We'll make that a part of the I'm sorry corner.
Yes,
that we'll do at the
yes.
end. But like, yeah, so it had been kind of successful, and then Christy said, "Hey, let's get a bigger house. Like, we can reach the masses if we have a bigger house." And so that's what they did. They moved to this nice neighborhood that was on right at the city limits.
Outside the city limits.
Outside the city limits, so they could have lots of people. They could have lots of neighbors, because I think the other place was kind of out, like
Right.
didn't have
it
a lot.
was a sweet, peaceful, happy neighborhood.
Right.
Christy had visions of being part of a bunco group.
Which, by the way, that's gambling. So
You ever played bunco?
no, but my neighborhood does. Like, this neighborhood is a lot like my neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't. I'm just lazy.
Yeah.
And so I don't do.
Bunco's fun if
I
you
don't
do it
do
with
a
the
lot.
right people.
And plus, I'm the weird house that has the window full of decapitated Woody dolls, so I don't get invited to a lot.
Right. You're the Christy of this.
I'm the Christy of
Yeah.
this thing. And so, but our neighborhood does do that. Like, they have bunco group, and they have hay rides, and people get together
Wow.
and cook chili on Halloween and all this.
See, I just don't have that kind of spirit. I just don't.
I don't either. But they do, and I love them for it. And I've even I was invited to the bunco group. I couldn't believe it, and I was like, well, I don't really gamble.
I want to go to heaven.
I want to go to heaven, and I believe in Jesus. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't go because I just didn't want to.
Right.
So
I wish I could go, but I just don't want to.
yeah, I would love to be there, but I'm just not.
Yeah.
And so
Our town has a lot of, yay town.
yeah, they have a
events.
lot of like festivities.
They do, man. Oh my gosh, they have a lot of things to.
Yeah.
Don't you just love our high school? Don't you just love our people? Don't you just? And I'm like, they're okay.
Yeah.
Can I just not go to bed?
I mean, I like them. I've got some hometown spirit, but not enough to stay up past 9.
I don't. Yeah. Yeah, not just staying up past 9. I mean, just to make a whole lot of effort. I mean,
well, and I just don't have kids that are
stream it for me
that
and
are
I'll watch it.
interested. Like Eli does not care.
Yeah.
He is not down for a festivity.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that's good for you. And I would never look. Santa on the Roof is loved by many. I would never send a nasty letter and say, why couldn't I get my Jim and Nick's barbecue sandwich last night?
I had to wait until tomorrow.
I had to wait until tomorrow, and I was so upset about it.
Maybe they should consider having a food truck next year.
Yeah. Also, I burned my finger while I was lighting that luminary, which is a tea candle, down in a bag. How do you light those without burning yourself? I do it every year. But I don't complain about it because people love it. And it's Christmas. But
you don't complain about it until we got a public platform like this podcast.
Well, I don't complain about it because I want it for everybody else. I'm so giving. My spirit is so pure.
You're a team player.
I really am. I have a gentle,
very unlike these neighbors of this man.
I have a gentle and quiet spirit, and so I let it happen.
And you know what? Your neighbors thank you.
They do. They love me.
All those kids.
They love me because I keep my yard clean, and I will not remove those decapitated woodies out of Eli's bedroom, but, you know, people like it. And
you have limits.
They might see him naked every once in a while, but people just...
Well, they know.
Shield their eyes and go on past.
Okay, so they move into this sweet, peaceful, happy neighborhood. And in this neighborhood, there is a homeowners association. And
do you have an HOA?
We do not.
We do.
No, we would likely not move to a neighborhood with a homeowners association.
Well, we bought this home when we were very young, and I just assumed everybody had an HOA. Right. I thought if you lived in a suburban neighborhood, you had an HOA.
Yeah.
So we are a part of it,
everywhere.
but we just will not pay our dues.
Oh, really?
We just will not do it. Mm-mm.
Okay.
I mean, they're not much. They're like $25 a year, but I'm not paying for those paper bags.
Some of these places are in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a year.
Yeah, we've probably got a lien on our house.
Probably.
That's fine. We can't check out library books, but who reads anyway?
Nobody.
Not me.
It's 2021, almost 22.
It's called Audible. You can get 3 for like $19.
And all you got to do is keep changing your email address, and you get free ones.
Amaryllis.
I've heard.
You can also do the same thing to get coupons at Bed Bath & Beyond. And or Bath & Body Works.
Anyway. So, I've lost my train of thought now.
For more of our pirating tips.
So, the Homeowners Association. Jeremy calls the president of the Homeowners Association. And
As one does.
As one does. And says, Jeremy says, hey, listen, I'm calling you. First, before I start talking, I just want to let you know I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
Also, my name is Jeremy.
Yeah.
I'm moving into your neighborhood, and no matter how you answer the following questions, I'm still going to do what I want to do.
You're not going to win, and I don't know if you can see me right now, but I have on a sweater vest.
Correct.
So
he says, we do this show, and we just want to know if the neighborhood wants to be a part of it, and we've bought this house, and I'm a lawyer. Again, I told you earlier, I'm a lawyer. Just
at
to
a law
reiterate,
firm.
I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I have read the CCRs, which are the conditions and the rules, basically, of a homeowners association. And I've read them all, and I've had my colleagues read them because they're lawyers too.
Right.
And we all are in agreement as lawyers that I'm not breaking any rules here.
Also, I work at a law firm.
I work in a law firm. I've been to law school, which makes me a lawyer.
I don't know if you know this, but I passed the bar.
I passed the bar. I work in a law firm.
And I'm a lawyer.
Yeah, I'm a lawyer. And so whatever you say today, I'm going to do what I want to do because I'm not breaking any laws. And I know this because I'm a lawyer.
#, bump you.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so she goes,
which is always welcoming when you're a new neighbor.
Thanks. So great to meet you. Let me check to see, what's happening. So the Homeowners Association looks this up and realizes, oh my word, this is
we
insane.
Don't have anything against.
We can't do this.
Yeah, and we don't have any laws, like rules in here to protect ourselves from this, really.
Well, they felt like they had a couple. They were grasping at straws.
They were grasping.
Yes.
But now, meanwhile, poor Christy, who is really the victim of this entire documentary.
I wrote that down. She is the actual victim
of this. I love you, Christy, if you're listening. She was like, hey, we've moved into a new neighborhood. I would love to bake some cookies for our neighbors. I would love to get to know them. I did not grow up in a in a neighborhood where I had a bunch of neighbors.
Has no friends.
Christy has no friends, okay? And her husband said, no, our neighbors should be baking for us.
Correct.
And I'm a lawyer.
As a lawyer, they should be bringing us.
And sweet Christy said, okay.
Yes. That's all she ever said. So
Christy needs to spend a weekend with me.
She made me so sad. Anyway, the homeowners association looks it up and says, hey, we don't really want this. And here's a letter that they went back and forth. And like idiots, at one point they said, plus we have non-religious neighbors who might be offended by this spectacle.
Sure.
And it's something they probably should not have put in the letter, but they did.
Yeah, they were kind
of they were
kind of
Jeremy, who you might remember is a lawyer, immediately read that and said, well, I'm being discriminated against.
He also said that they put something in the letter that mentioned some undesirables.
Which
would be poor people and him.
Those people, man.
Did you like his response to the letter?
Remind me.
Okay, so they send him this letter, and he's like, well, I'm being discriminated against, which is basically waging war against my free rights, okay?
Yes.
And you can tell from his office decor that he is... America 100%.
America.
George Washington hitting that flag up in the ground, America. And so...
Eagles everywhere.
Yes. Flying, they're bald, they love the United States, flag in their claws. And so he says, well, I'm gonna go back to a scene in a war movie that I've seen. And so he just responded with one word. And Amaryllis, do you remember what that one word was?
The word, Misty, was nuts.
Nuts.
And it just was so meaningful to him, and everybody else was like, what are we talking about?
And my favorite quote from him was that he sent that and he said, and I quote, "It's my favorite thing I've ever done."
I'm going to tell you my favorite thing that was said in this whole movie was Larry Strayer, who was a neighbor, and I think he was the former president of the HOA.
Uh-huh.
And he was talking about when they sent that letter and they realized that line about religious stuff was in it. And he looked at the camera and he goes, how do you put a fart back in after you come out? That was my favorite because truer words have rarely been spoken.
It's like what I used to say to bill collectors when Philip and I first got married and we were real young, and you rob Peter to pay Paul, right? And the bill collectors will call you.
Yep.
P.S. Young married couples, if you don't pay a bill collectors will call you. And I thought I was real smart. And one time a bill collector called us and they were like, you owe so and so amount of money, and I said, well, you can't get blood out of a turnip. And that woman said, ma'am, we didn't loan this money to a turnip.
She's heard that more than once. And
I was like, there you go.
You may as well have. Said you may as well have, lady.
Well, a turnip's got more money than we got right now. So you'll get that in installments of $5 a month for the next 20 years.
Until I decide to finish it.
Thank you.
All right. So Jeremy, at this point, is livid, and he says, I'm not asking for permission. I'm doing this. So he starts recording conversations. And he thinks, here's when I knew that Jeremy, if I didn't know it before, I knew it now, because his perspective is, and I would call them, and his perspective was very different than the reality.
Right.
Which was, he was a bully, and he was mean, and he was intimidating, and he wielded being an attorney. He weaponized it.
Uh-huh.
And he was just an awful human.
Somebody was not popular in high school.
He was not popular in high school.
And he was getting his revenge, buddy.
Oh, yes.
But now not only did he record conversations, but he decided he was going to find ways in which other neighbors were breaking the rules. And one of my very favorite things, because they were like, he would just pick anything and be like, well, this is against the HOA rules. This is against the rules. One time he sent in a picture of a scarecrow, and he said it had an unsettling gaze.
Which is true of every scarecrow.
He also felt very offended by two snowmen together.
Oh, no. I missed that one. I did know that he called out the 82-year-old woman for having 3 dogs instead of only 2.
Right. And he also was really unhappy with the portrayal of tulips on a flag, because that's not even America.
It's not America.
You're not Danish, okay?
America.
You're America.
He was very, very America.
Yes.
Okay, so he would in these phone calls, you could hear him say just horrible, horrible things. That poor lady, that poor Jennifer. She was like on anxiety meds, and she developed anxiety, and she was
and P.S.
trauma.
He's all upset about like, you're not letting me have my religious freedom. This woman's husband was a pastor.
A pastor. Well, they were all basically...
They're like, we're all Christians.
We're all Christians.
It's not about that. Like, we just don't want to have to wait for 3.5 hours to get into our driveway.
It's probably not even... It's probably more than 3.5 hours, and it's for like a month.
Yeah.
It's not just... I mean, there's buses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's buses going in and out.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, this happened in 2014, which was 7 years ago, obviously. And this woman, as she was retelling the story, she was still tearing up at the memory of the things that he would do to her and say to her. And you could hear them on the recording. What's so funny is he just thought, I really got her good. And he really thought it was a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, he felt like he was coming out as like, you see? Do you see what she said?
Well, it's like, I wanted to look at him and be like, dude, how boring is your life that you get off on making HOA stay-at-home moms cry over some Christmas lights?
That's exactly what he did.
Like,
but you know what?
You're reaching.
Jeremy says, despite all of this, he and his wife decided to go ahead and move into the neighborhood and be kind and gracious and put all this behind them. So he's got recordings of him like berating this Jennifer woman and sending letters and threatening the entire neighborhood. But he decided to be kind and gracious and just go ahead and move in.
Now, please know that the whole time, Christy is not joining him on this. She actually packs her things up and goes to her mother's.
Peace.
In, I think, Virginia.
In Virginia.
She was like, I'm getting scared. Like, you have waged war against our neighbors. And so she packs up and moves during these, like, big, time frames that he's doing this. And
well, they felt like they had been threatened, and there again, I don't believe for 1 second that their lives had been threatened.
Well, and
but because he just took everything to the extreme.
Right.
I mean, he had these very alt-right people coming to defend him, and there were weapons everywhere, and he was like, "My life is in danger," and I'm like, "Your life is not in danger."
He's like, "I had to buy a gun."
Yes, and so Christy was like, "I'm out," and I'm thinking, good for you, Christy. I did not realize that it was a temporary move.
Good for her, but still, she only stayed during like the bad time. But even still for her, like, again, I felt so bad for her because you can see her on film, like, feeling like, this is my husband, I have to defend him, like, I have to be in his corner. But deep down inside, you can tell, I'm like, she's visually crying and going, deep down inside, she knows, like, he's being crazy.
Yep.
And I'm never going to have a friend here. And my kids are never going to build relationships here. Like, he's basically made it to where we are prisoners in our own home. We can't go out and be a part of these community activities because they were a very close-knit community. And she could have found a lot of, friendships and support there. And he stole that from her.
And that's what she wanted.
Over some freaking Christmas lights.
Yeah.
I mean, God bless her, but I think that I would have hit, like, maybe the second lawsuit, and I would have been like, hey,
I'm out.
Your Christmas lights are not more important than my mental health, my happiness, or our children.
Well, his personality is one of, he does not see the other side. He does not allow for 1 second that the other people have some measure of rationale in what they're doing. Like, he definitely gave it was all about him the whole time. Whole time.
And at one point, watching it, I thought to myself, this is not even about your quote-unquote ministry.
Oh, no.
This is just about you winning. That's all 100%, you hear about.
It's about
him
winning.
You want to win.
He manipulated public opinion. He convinced everybody that his neighbors were anti-Christian.
Oh, yeah.
And
Call
that's
news
when
stations.
Oh, that's when the media got on board. That's when conservative media got on board. And I'm sure I saw this somewhere along the way when it happened. I don't remember, but because you see these stories pop up every now and then. But
And what's a better
They were
headline?
just like, I mean, they all took it up.
Yeah.
And because the neighbors never defended themselves in the way that he could, because he's really good at it.
He's
Like,
smart,
He was
yeah.
very good at playing the victim.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to let anybody tell me that I can't talk about God or I can't talk about Christmas. And
Well, and what's a better headline than neighborhood hates baby Jesus?
there's none.
There's
better
none.
headline.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it became like a neighborhood hates Christmas, and this guy's being persecuted for his religion.
Yeah.
And gosh, it makes me so stinking angry. I mean, I have a problem with Christian nationalism anyway. That's a whole other political thing. But this is kind of a picture of that a little bit, because you know, as Christians, we can get. How do I say this? A lot of Christians, especially in this part of the world, get their faith and politics and culture confused.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening here is like he's weaponizing his faith,
Christianity.
his faith, his career, and even his own family. Because Christy also, we talked about, she's definitely a tool in this whole mess.
Well, and anybody that is a believer could look at this for 5 minutes and go, this has nothing to do with Christ.
Not one thing.
Not one thing does this have to do with Christ.
Right.
And if this is your ministry and this is how you're leading your ministry, let me tell you, I wouldn't want to be part of your church.
Oh, correct.
Sorry.
Yeah. But he did it anyway. It's funny because, you know, Christy went away to Virginia and they show him putting up lights without Christy.
Oh, yeah.
He's on the roof putting up lights.
I mean,
and the
he's
neighbors were like, he's doing it even though we told him not to.
Well, and not one part of him is going, what is the cost of this? Like, it's cost me, I'm sure, lots of money.
Lots of money.
Fighting it in court. It's cost you any relationships that you have with your neighbor and the potential of sharing your faith with others. Like you've totally,
You can forget it.
forget that. Like you're not going to do that. It's cost you now your wife and children and time with them. And these are little kids. Yep. And seeing them grow up, and this is around Christmas. Like, you love Christmas so much, and it means so much to you, but it doesn't mean so much to you that you don't care if your kids are carted off to another state and miss that time with you so you can win a Christmas light battle.
Oh, it was definitely a contest.
Yeah.
Definitely a contest. Well, it happened. I mean, he did it, even though the HOA said no, he went ahead and did it. And then 2016 comes along, and the show got bigger. And he said his neighbors are just bitter, angry old people, and they deserve it.
Well, and we're not talking about, like, a couple hundred people. We're talking about thousands. And maybe, and Philip said, because I looked at Philip, when I saw what he had done, I looked at Philip and I just said, I'm underwhelmed. And Philip goes, he's obviously never been to the South, and he's obviously never been to our neighborhood because
this is nothing.
My husband has about 25 Christmas inflatables in our yard, a Christmas wreath with poinsettias on it that have glitter and lights.
Okay.
And LED snowflakes from the top of our porch. Okay.
You should consider a cotton candy machine for next year, and maybe have.
I will eat all the cotton candy and give 0 to
hot chocolate.
anyone.
He also had hot chocolate for
Yeah,
everybody.
but I mean, okay, I get it. Like his house was covered every square inch in lights, but there was nothing exciting to me. Like Philip goes, dude, I'd get there after all this like hoopla and I'd stay 5 minutes. There's nothing.
Like he would not win the Great Light Fight, is what you're saying?
There's nothing to do there.
He was getting a cherry picker and machinery to string lights. There was that many lights. And he marketed it like crazy on social media, and like Team Jeremy would accuse the team of HOA of dumb things like staging an accident and calling the cops, and then the HOA would do the same thing,
the visitors,
harassing visitors, and then there was like tons and tons of traffic, and then the one moment where there was one car coming down the street was when Jeremy would be like, I don't know why they're so upset. There's just this one car coming down the street. Did you see that?
Right.
Oh, my gosh. So he had enough. He had enough.
Yeah.
He said after this, he saw everything that happened. He had enough. He went in for 5 days. He wrote the, quote, best damn lawsuit of his life, which I assume he's written many because you might remember he's a lawyer.
It was called Jesus versus Satan.
seeking $250,000 in punitive damages.
Now, remind these people that this community is mostly made up of retired people and people with small children. And their HOA is so massive and so big that they get so much money that their meetings are in a garage and lawn chairs.
Exactly. No, it's a very modest neighborhood.
Yeah.
We're not talking about...
These are not giant gated community houses.
Right.
Like, these are like what you would see in your everyday suburban neighborhood.
But you know what? Jeremy says, I'm like 1,000 times smarter than these people. And I can lay a trap every single time.
Word.
It's 100. That's a quote. That is a straight up quote. I'm like 1,000 times smarter than these people. Because he deposed everybody. He was his own lawyer. Mm-hmm. He deposed everybody. And that's when Jennifer made him mad, the HOA president, because she wasn't answering the questions like he wanted her to. Mm-hmm. And he says, see, I got her. And then they show her being deposed, and he did not get her.
Let me tell you, this is what happens when you don't make fun of your kids. Okay? And that's why...
When you give them too much credit.
When you give them too much credit. This is why I'm a huge advocate of making fun of your own children.
Right.
Because, look, mine start getting a little too big for their britches, and I'll be like, we about to take you down a notch. Like, your breath stink.
This is how it goes, yeah.
So, go on about your business.
Like, are you walking out the door looking out like that?
Like, really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, they finally end up in federal court after all these years. The HOA is on one side, and Jeremy's on the other side. The courtroom was full of neighbors. Jeremy, at that point, he was required to prove that he had been discriminated against on the basis of religion. That was this whole lawsuit, is they are treating me like this and harassing me, which is hilarious, because of my religion.
And he literally got awarded the win from one statement, and that was one of the women saying he does refer to this as his ministry.
Yeah.
And he said as soon as he heard her say that, he looked at Christy and said, we just won.
And he did. The jury awarded him and Christy, the couple, $75,000. And it was a devastating thing for the Homeowners Association, because $75,000, while it may not sound like a lot of money in a lawsuit, if you divided about a bunch of retirees and young families.
Well, and if they're only suing the HOA board, that's like 4 members.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, exactly. So he won the $75,000, but at what expense, right? He lost relationships, time with his children, time with his wife. But he says it was worth it because America.
Oh, say, can you see?
I would join, but I can't right now.
I'm sorry.
But normally I have a higher range than...
No, that's right.
This.
Misty.
No, that's not what I was... that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say then... And they can't see me pointing at my face, so they are thinking that I was saying something ugly about you. That's not what I was going to say.
Normally I have a much better singing voice.
No, I did not mean to say that. Oh my gosh, no. That's not at all what I was going to say.
But yeah, it was a win for the United States.
For America.
It really
Absolutely.
was. Mm-hmm.
But then, and I don't know what the time lapse was in between, but then the judge reversed the decision.
Right.
And he ordered the Morris family to pay $112,000 in legal fees of the defendants.
To the HOA.
So much money.
It's a lot of money.
So now, of course, because the judge did that, that makes him a corrupt judge, according to Jeremy. Mm-hmm. He wasn't corrupt before. But when he ruled against him in America,
right,
he was a corrupt judge. And in fact, Jeremy filed a complaint for whatever. I'll have to look it up.
And an appeal.
Yeah. He is a lunatic.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah.
And while they're going through all this, there's a lot of stress in the household, okay? Because Jeremy's dead set on winning this battle, and still, like, he's wanting to plan to keep doing this light show, which he's now been told he can't do it. He can't do anymore. And this was hands down my favorite scene of the whole documentary, is that they're sitting there, and Jeremy's going to give this, like, part of the documentary where he's telling Christy why this is unjust and what's happening. And so he starts telling her, well, they have little kids. And so, like, one would be like, Mama. And he'd be like, let's start over. And then
it's frustrating me that you're not paying attention to me.
As a mom, like, one of the kids, and she'd be like, hey, okay, like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
And it would infuriate him.
It would infuriate him.
And he would be like, and at one part he said, can I just start over and you not talk?
He was awful.
To Christy. And everyone be quiet so I cannot go crazy. And Philip and I were sitting there, and I said,
no.
Guess who he would never last with? Elijah Gillespie. For our listeners that do not know.
For our new listeners.
I have my youngest child has autism and is very limited when it comes to verbal communication. And so he struggles as far as communicating verbally. But let me tell you what he does not struggle in. And that is getting on your last nerve. When he wants something. Because guess who becomes verbal real quick?
He likes noise.
When they want some chocolate. And guess who can get his point across to you no matter what? You could be performing open heart surgery and he would come up to you and be like, can I get a cookie? I mean, over.
That's when he becomes verbal.
And he would say, cookie, 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 about 150 times. Or you would say, Eli, I need you to go do so-and-so. And he would say, not again. Not again.
That's my favorite.
Again. That's one of his famous catchphrases is not again. And I said, if he thinks that is tough, this man would never survive.
They keep having babies.
Well, yeah.
They keep having babies. We started off with 2, and then by the end of the show, we saw her with a brand newborn, fourth baby.
Well, I mean, he finds them such a joy
yes,
that he needs them to shut up when he's trying to film.
That was
his speech.
It's hard to believe that somebody lets himself be recorded.
And he knows
like
about
that.
recording things that don't look very good on you.
Because that really made him look like a real jerk.
It made him look like a real jerk.
But
yeah.
The judge found that the recordings made him confrontational, and the plaintiff's witnesses did not hold up against scrutiny. He said Mr. Morris's testimony was inconsistent and that the evidence supported the HOA version of events. So now Jeremy thinks our system is like a banana republic, and the judge banned him from ever having shows. And he, like I said, he thinks he's completely corrupt. I made a note of what you just said. I said, I love at the end of the show how Christy's taking care of little kids, but her biggest baby needs all the attention.
Oh, yeah. And he gets to a point where he literally storms out.
He's ticked off.
He's ticked off that he can't get attention from her.
I can tell this is taking a toll on the marriage, and I can't imagine what it's like between them without cameras around, these arguments. But I feel like she's just trying to keep it together.
Well, and there's a scene in there where he's kind of discussing, because he's not given up. Like,
no, and now they've appealed.
Yeah, they've appealed, and he basically said, I've gotten to the point with this that if we don't win, it will bankrupt us.
Oh, yeah.
And you see her start to visibly cry, and he looks over at her and goes, are you crying?
Yeah.
It's fine.
It took him a second. He finally hugged her.
And then
it took a minute.
It took a minute, and he finally hugged her, and she just was like, I just want to have neighbors, and I just want this to stop.
It's just all I've ever
But
wanted.
it doesn't matter to him.
And she said, I think the only way to get out of this is just to move.
Yeah, she's ready to leave.
Imagine his response to that. I'm sure it'd be like, America.
Yeah, I mean, he was probably like, did they leave
and I know,
the Battle of Gettysburg?
I know marriages are not disposable, and I'm certainly not that person that says, if he's wronged you, you got to get out of there right now. Mm-hmm. But this man shows a pattern of absolute disrespect and disregard for anything his wife ever says.
Christy, if you're out there,
please call us.
Please call us. I need you to spend one weekend with me, and I'm going to teach you a phrase that is worth $1 million.
It's called not again.
It is called not again, and it is called you are not the boss of me. And I say this repeatedly.
I know that phrase too.
You know that phrase. And how about, look, I'm a believer, and I'm all about, your husband.
We love Jesus.
Being a spiritual leader of your household. Mm-hmm. But guess what? When he's not leading you spiritually, he's leading you selfishly. Mm-hmm. It is not your responsibility to follow that craziness. That's a crazy train you've hopped on.
I feel like she's being held hostage by her faith.
Absolutely.
That's just the conclusion I get. It's not, I didn't hear her talk about that at all. But I get the sense that they are very religious, and she is just trying to hang on because there is no option for her.
Yeah, and I'm not. Please know that I'm not saying, well, if your husband doesn't do what you're supposed to, you should divorce him. That's not the point. But what I am saying is that it is not disrespectful to stand up for yourself or to stand up for your children, and it is not disrespectful to have your own viewpoints.
I said the biggest loser. This is the note that I made about this. It says the biggest loser in all of this is Christy, and it's her husband's fault, is Christy. I said, I want to reach out to her and just be her friend, but I need to be assured that her husband's staying at home.
And she genuinely seems like a sweet woman.
Yes.
Like she really does.
She wants to be friends with people.
Yeah.
And she wants to love her husband.
Imagine just living with Jeremy all the time.
Oh my gosh, what a freaking nightmare.
And all he talks about is, hey, good night, sweetheart, I'm a lawyer.
I'm a lawyer. Thank God you're married to me, a lawyer.
Yeah, aren't you so lucky?
Aren't you so lucky that...
No, I'm hostage in this house. If I walk outside, people give me the side eye.
Yeah,
and
sad.
the stank.
It's sad. So they show them at the appeal. Their lawyers went to the appellate court and argued their cases, and it takes like a year to get the verdict. So they won't know that for a number of more months. Right. And the final kick in the buck is that he filed a judicial misconduct complaint against the judge, and the 80-something-year-old lady who violated the CCRs that had the 3 dogs, she had to give up one of her dogs. She now only has 2 dogs.
One of the things said, Dolly no longer has 3 dogs.
Dolly only has 3
now,
dogs.
Do you know for sure she had to give it up, or did he kill one?
I don't know. It's a good point.
Because, he was threatening the dogs.
Hey, now, Misty, we're not saying that because he's
a
lawyer.
I did not say that he did. I'm asking.
You're asking.
Do we know what happened to the 3rd dog?
We do not know. We just know it no longer exists in this neighborhood.
Was it taken away due to regulations, or was it taken away due to being hit by a car?
By a certain lawyer.
Which one? That's what I'm asking. And I don't think
it's just a question.
I don't think it's against the law to be curious.
I don't disagree. It's just a question.
Curiosity killed the cat, but it also probably killed the dog.
You know what? These people are afraid to even answer questions of opinion.
Yeah.
Because
they don't know what's against the law.
Well, they said for now they've won. Mm-hmm. Okay. They're waiting on the appeal, and they feel, if they do win it, he says what's next is personal lawsuits.
Let me tell you what is not going to make you friends, and that's suing people.
Ever.
And
recording word gets around. Word gets around, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Don't be friends with Jeremy and his wife because whatever joke you make about something they don't like, you're going to get sued over.
Guess what? You ain't never coming to Bunko.
No, you're not. Yes, never,
No.
ever, ever.
And guess what, Amaryllis? If you was suing me all the time, I wouldn't do no podcast with you.
Correct.
It's not a good look.
I will have to, remind me in the summer to look up and see if that verdict has come in.
Yeah.
So we can.
I don't know. I just wish that I could talk to him and go, hey, dude, people are starving. There are people who are being violated, physically, emotionally abused, and you are fighting tooth and nail to save Christmas lights. Imagine what you could do if you put that energy towards a real cause.
Misty, you're missing the point.
What's that?
The point is he's being discriminated against in Idaho for being a Christian.
I wish he would talk to some people who have really been discriminated against.
He really thinks he's in the middle of Iraq or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
He's in a suburb in Idaho.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're a white male lawyer. I think you're going to be fine.
You'll be okay.
I think you're going to do all right.
You're going to be all right.
Oh,
well, that does it. That's it.
All right. Well, that really killed my Christmas spirit.
I know, geez.
And
whose idea was this?
Let me tell you where I'm never going to live.
Idaho. No, Idaho is actually a very beautiful place.
Is it?
I never want to live. Yes, it's very, very beautiful. I don't want to live anywhere near Jeremy. So if he's in Idaho, then correct. We're not living in Idaho.
And P.S.
But let's say he moves down to Virginia with his family. We're not going there.
Let me tell you what would not be good for him is moving to the South.
No.
Yeah. Those people are way nice to you, Jeremy.
Those people are very nice to you.
They're very nice to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
they will rough you up down here.
Yeah, it would not do you any favors. Mm-mm. So, because people around here ain't got nothing to lose.
They've got nothing to lose. Just ask.
They owe a lot of money in child support, and they've already got a warrant.
All right, Misty.
All right.
Do we have anybody to give shout-outs to this week?
P.S.
Or did we say
P.S. That's not a threat. That was a joke.
That was a joke.
That was a joke.
Oh, my gosh.
Gosh. Could you imagine having a friend you had to talk to like that?
Yes. I'm going to tell Jeremy, listen. I'm about to say a joke, okay?
Listen, this is not real.
It's not real. I'm about to tell you a joke.
Any joke I tell you cannot be held against me in a court of law.
We would be in the courtroom all the time.
Amaryllis.
Every time I say something to you.
I would owe you $1 million.
In fact, I need to go erase my text history right now.
I mean, my gosh. And just think of the people who don't know we talk about them.
Ain't nobody safe in that text thread.
I know that's right. I mean, can you get sued over gifts? Or gifs?
I hope not.
What do you call them?
I really hope not.
And or memes.
I hope not. Oh my gosh, I hope not.
They would put me under the jail.
We would have special isolation chambers or something.
For real.
All right, so do we have shout outs to give, or did we give them all out last week?
Oh my gosh.
Everybody that we know.
I just like to give a shout out to Santa on the Roof because he did his thing this weekend. And shout out to our community police officers for keeping that traffic flowing.
Yeah.
And
did he just do it one night, or was it 2 nights?
They only do it one night.
Oh, it's just one night.
It's a one-night thing. But you know what? After I watched this documentary, I used to kind of complain a little bit and be like, man, I didn't get my Jimmy Nicks tonight. But now that I've seen this documentary...
You've got it good.
You go Santa on the Roof. Like, you keep on climbing up on that roof as long as you can. And
it's just one night.
That's really spreading Christmas cheer right there. So...
It's just one night.
I apologize for ever being upset that I couldn't get a barbecue sandwich at 7 p.m. I'm sorry.
That's discrimination against hungry people.
It really is discrimination. But, yeah. But you know what, Jeremy? I'm not going to let you steal my Christmas spirit.
So shout out to Santa.
Shout out to Santa. And shout out to baby Jesus.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry frickin' Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. How about I get my own cotton candy machine?
Listeners, oh, by the way, did you also get thousands and thousands of dollars on your Venmo?
I did, guys. I'd love to thank you so much for your $0 that you contributed. Your Christmas generosity was insane.
A sight to behold.
Insane. Yeah.
A sight to behold. Okay, listen, I feel obligated to tell people that we did not actually think we were getting a one red penny.
That was a joke.
It was a joke.
We do not do this for the thousands of dollars that we could use, okay? We do this for the pure joy of each other's company.
And for all your emails and comments.
And P.S., your emails and comments are worth more to me than gold because nobody else encourages me. And guess what? Most people, in the words of my husband, don't think you're that funny.
Well, I've always said this podcast is strictly just because we like to hear ourselves talk.
Can I please tell you, because Philip is so good to me and so kind to me, but he is a humbling force in my life, that one time we were in church and I was talking to this girl and I was, you know how sometimes you're just like, I'm on fire. Like, I want to be my own friend. Like, I'm that funny and I'm that cool to be around, okay?
Right.
And it was just one of those days I was feeling myself. Like, it was a good day. And I thought, this girl is going to leave here and think, well, God, I've got to immediately friend request her.
Exactly.
And put her on my Instagram feed.
Right.
And we walked out of the church and Philip looked at me and he said, that woman does not like you. And I said, what? And
she loved me.
And he said, she thought you were annoying. And I said, why would you say that to me? And he said, Misty, I know this is really hard for you to believe because your confidence is so good. But not everybody thinks you're delightful. He said, you get on some people's nerves. Like, you're a lot. And I said, I am a lot of fun.
I know that about myself. I know that I'm a lot.
That's fine.
I say it I am totally self-aware.
I'm not everybody's cup of tea,
And
but
I'm not, and I don't, like, I'm just going to be me. I just don't care.
Yeah.
If you don't like me, I just don't care.
And if you don't like me, you're stupid.
Well, I mean, duh.
Duh.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye.
We are the dumbest people I know.